So the issue of the ordination of women has been a big deal in religious circles since around 1970. Soon thereafter, Reform Judaism began ordaining women as rabbis, and then the conservative movement basically waited until the death of its premier Talmudic scholar, Saul Lieberman, and then they started ordaining women around the early 1980s. So what about Orthodox Judaism? Over the past 5 years, I've had a lot of people come out and say so-and-so was ordained as a female Orthodox rabbi, but it's been very much on the margins of Orthodox Judaism, and now probably the most mainstream movement to ordain a woman has happened in Orthodox Judaism, and it's creating some controversy because the ordination was done by Yeshivat Chovevei Torah, which is on the left-wing side of the Orthodox religious spectrum within Judaism. So where do I come out? Well, I just have an instinctive reaction to the ordination of women in Orthodox Judaism. I'm glad that there are forms of Judaism such as Reform Judaism, Reconstructionist Judaism, Humanistic Judaism, Renewal Judaism, Conservative Judaism, where women can be ordained as rabbis. But I was always struck by something that Dennis Prager said, and I heard it for the first time from him about 20 years ago, that we need to reserve certain ritual roles for men in a religion or they will tend to drop out. And we definitely see this in Reform and Conservative and Reconstructionist Judaism, because there haven't been ritual roles held only for men. Men have tended to drop out of non-Orthodox forms of Judaism. So you go to your typical Reform service on a Friday night, you'll look around and you'll find that it's about 70% women, usually women in the second half of life. So how do you get men to participate in religion? Well, men like to do things at times where there's only men around. So that's why you had service clubs such as Kiwanis, etc. for many years, where there were clubs just for men to do public service, to get together and raise money for charity, for the handicapped, etc. Well, this was struck down by court ruling, so these clubs have had to open up to female members, and a lot of men have dropped out. So now where do men go to just find that camaraderie? They'll find it at strip clubs, for instance, or in very traditional forms of religion. So Orthodox Judaism tends to segregate the sexes, and so men who just want to get together with other men and study Talmud or to pray or to study other parts of the sacred texts in Judaism, they can find that essentially in Jewish life only within Orthodox Judaism. So Orthodox Judaism generally tends to prescribe different roles for men and women, for a Kohen, a Levi, and Yisrael. This is more important in the times of the temple, but it does make distinctions between, say, adults and children, between Jews and non-Jews, between sacred times such as the Sabbath and Jewish holidays, and non-sacred time. And for instance, a minyan is a prayer quorum, and in Orthodox Judaism you need 10 men. So if you have 9 men and 100 women, you do not have a minyan according to a normative interpretation of Jewish law from an Orthodox perspective. So almost all time-bound ritual commandments are binding upon men, and they're not binding upon women. So women have the freedom to pray on their own. They don't have to gather with a quorum necessarily to pray. So it frees them up to look after children. So Judaism does see separate roles for men and women. So now we have this woman, Sarah Hurwitz, who was first given the title of Maharat Hurwitz, and she's now been given the title Rabbah Hurwitz. So it's not a big space between Rabbah and Rabbi. So for all intents and purposes, she is now an ordained Orthodox rabbi. So how will that play out sociologically? Well, I think it'll only be entertained by the more left-wing forms of Orthodox Judaism, what's called the modern Orthodox, and even then just the most left-wing forms of modern Orthodoxy, particularly, say, in strongholds such as New York and Los Angeles and Chicago. There may be congregations that would be open to this, and maybe Jerusalem. The mainstream Orthodox reaction is, what is Rabbi Avi Weiss, who founded Yeshivat Hovevei Torah, what is he doing ordaining women? Orthodox Judaism tends to run on consensus. So will a consensus among Torah scholars emerge that the ordination of women is valid? And that's a question of which I'm highly skeptical. I don't think we'll have the great Torah scholars of modern Orthodox Judaism, let alone mainstream and traditional forms of Orthodox Judaism, cottoning to the ordination of women.